Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming out today. We are welcome to the Contemporary Issues Sunday School class. Once in a while, we talk about TV series and movies that are popular and if we're watching them and share recommendations. And so that's today. Thought it would be a fun day to do that. So relying on you all to tell me what you think of these top-rated shows and movies, and if you watch any of them, and what your favorites are. So we'll have a good discussion today. Before we do that, I want to welcome our Zoomers, Susan from Toronto. And Susan, we want to ask you what kind of TV shows and movies are in Toronto today, in Canada, how it's different from America. So we will get to that and do that. And yourself when you're not speaking, and we are recording this for future playback. And any other announcements? We have several things going on. Something today in church at 11:30, social justice discussion, not discussion, but handout of information at booths in the fellowship hall. So good to learn about all that we do with that. And kind of with that too, there is also a presentation coming up about white nationalism that some of us are going to, and featuring Randall Balmer and Althea Butter. He was here with us in class, yes, on Friday, March 28th at CU Denver in the Student Commons on the future of white Christian nationalism and the future of US politics. So thank you for sharing that with us. And we can find more information about that probably at the CU Denver website also. And I'd like to give a plug to Rev Jerry's class that's on Sunday nights at 6:30 about Lent on Zoom. Vicki and I tune into that on Sunday nights at 6:30. And Jerry's talking about reflections of our lives and some history of Lent and early Christianity. So if you want to sign up for that, do that on the website.
Plenty of room in his Thursday afternoon class.
And his Thursday class too,
Meets right across the park.
that meets in person.
1 o'clock.
Yes, okay, good. And lots going on. Okay. Other things, any other announcements? Want to talk about things in the news for a minute? Is there anything going on in the news in Washington these days?
No, nothing. Nothing.
Nothing at all.
Good.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
I was reading the Denver Post today, and there's a full page ad by Christy Walton talking about American values that are pretty anti-Trump. But I mean, it was a full page ad. They said they're just her views, and if you subscribe, I recommend you take a look at that. It just made me feel kind of good for a change.
Good, that's good, yeah. I've been talking to some of my conservative friends too, and you know what they say sometimes is, it's hard right now, but
Yes.
it's going to be better. You'll see in the long run that as government changes and reduces, that we'll look back and we'll say, it was better that we reduced the size of government and some of these things return to the states, like Department of Education, and some of these duties going back to the states, and that the federal money will flow from the feds to the states and the schools. It just won't be done through a bloated Department of Education. I just throw that out as the devil's advocate, so to speak. So, yes, go ahead, Nora Lee.
I noticed that there are some people who used to attend fairly regularly that don't attend anymore. And I was wondering if we have voiced too, how do I say this politically correctly? Have we leaned too liberal for some of our folks who are members that are not? And I'm just putting it out there because
In this class or in St. Andrew generally?
No, in this class.
Okay,
Because I know we're trying to be equitable. Can we say the E word? I don't know.
sure, sure.
So, but just food for thought.
Yes,
Because yeah.
we have over the years had 6 or 10 people leave. They didn't feel comfortable. with our politics, our political leaning, even though we try to express both sides. Absolutely. Yep,
It's hard.
that's life. It's hard. Christine,
But in defense of our class, I think that, we have given, kind of a good balanced view, and we ask questions, the hard questions. And sometimes people don't wanna, confront those hard questions.
That's right.
So,
Very
I'm not saying that, you know, that they're good in doing that, but people say, no, you know, this is something I'm not interested in. I think we have a very intellectual class that tries to look at these in a Christian way, so I'm for the class.
I'm not saying.
Well said.
I was
Thank
just
you.
wondering. yeah.
it's good for us to realize that though. This isn't for everybody. People are gonna leave and that's up to them. Okay, same as coming to church in general. Okay. Any other thoughts before we go?
Bernie and AOC were here Friday, and
Yes,
Ron says they had 34,000 people.
34,000 people to their,
Some people in the class that attended.
It was very uplifting.
anybody go? Who was here? Oh, we had several people that went. How was it? Very exciting. Good. No violence. Were there protesters against those speakers?
No, I don't think there were any protesters. I was kind of surprised at that.
Yeah.
I was prepared for it, but I didn't see any protesters.
No tiki torches?
No. It was very well thought out, very well presented, very, very peaceful rally. And, the big message is, it's not Republicans against Democrats. The message was, it's the people and public assets becoming privatized. And it's the people against the billionaires and oligarchs.
Oligarchy.
And basically, the other message was, it needs to be a grassroots. You have to talk to your communities, your neighbors, etc., because that's about the only power we've got. And as Bernie Sanders said, he goes, I don't know the 1%, but I know the 99%. So if you stay together and you're cohesive, you can bring about change.
And it was also the biggest rally that he's had so far.
Biggest one he's had was here in Denver. Yeah, that's a lot of people, 30,000 people. Very good.
Was the educators that there were?
No. That was at the Capitol.
Okay, that was. What I missed, what you should.
Yeah, that was on
That was Thursday.
Thursday, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Teachers walked
Very
out.
good.
Right.
yes, Jane.
One thing that came up on the national news about what was happening in Denver, a comment that a couple of people made, and they wondered about this. Their tour was using the word oligarchy, and they said maybe they should use a different term because there would be a number of people in this country. I don't know how many thousands or millions they were thinking of, but using words like that they don't get the full meaning of.
Mhm.
But they did use that in Denver, and I thought, well, the people in Denver understand what it is. I felt sure of that.
He addressed that and
Yeah.
said, there was a time when most of our populace didn't know what that word meant.
Mhm.
But more and more people are knowing what it means. And to defend against this, we need people to know what that means.
Yeah.
I went and looked it up. What is an oligarch?
Yeah,
You were at the top of the.
Does it mean like dictator? Would that be
Well, I
a
think
close synonym?
It's wealthy.
Okay.
It means
Wealthy.
the
Wealthy running
leadership
the-
Wealthy ownership,
of the
elite.
government.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's
'cause
more
I
than
We
wasn't-
have a lot of that
It's a
in
group.
Russia.
I
It's
wasn't
not
sure.
one.
It's billionaires who own your government and your
Yeah.
public assets.
Yeah.
Yeah, they own it
Okay.
rather than you as the people.
It's like Jeff Bezos, telling the Washington Times, we won't do.
Government by the,
We won't do
Wealthy.
adverse opinions anymore, like the Washington Post.
Washington Post, yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
it's like
Very good.
Elon Musk. He's not an elected official.
we shall revisit this topic soon. And probably frequently, and we hope fairly. Okay, with that, let's jump in and talk about TV and movies, since most of us probably go home at night and relax a little after dinner with some kind of TV show or movie. And it's fun sometimes to compare and share ideas on what we're watching. It's a particular favorite of mine, this topic, because when I was a newspaper reporter in Kansas City, mostly, I would do politics and city government on the weekdays, and then on the weekends, I was in a program where I would do movie reviews, see new movies, and then actually fly to Hollywood and see new movies and interview the actors that were in them. It was a fun little thing.
Yeah.
So actually, I thought that you might enjoy seeing a couple pictures, so I brought a picture of some of the folks that I met.
Did you meet Siskel and Ebert?
No, but I did meet Ebert one time. He was at one of the things, so a picture of me and Vicky, wife Vicky, I thought I would show you just for fun, pass around. Alan Alda and Ted Danson and then Barney Fife from the Andy Griffith Show.
And
the
James
guy-
Bond.
And James Bond on the bottom, Sean Connery too. So with that, just for fun.
What was the most interesting?
My most interesting one, Jim, you asked, was Robert Redford. I enjoyed sitting down with Robert
Yes.
Redford and talking. He was one of my favorite actors. But here's Paul Newman also, and Julia Roberts was also a fun interview to do in my time as a newspaper reporter. Enough about me. Let's jump in here. I'm sharing on screen for our Zoomers too, and I've passed out here a little handout that says top TV and films of 2025. The first one is the top 10 TV shows currently based on different sources that have been compiled by artificial intelligence. So instead of just listing one, referring to one source, artificial intelligence now will combine all the different sources and give you what's supposed to be a more accurate information. So that's what this one is. So let's just run through those and tell what they are. These are the highest rated. They're getting the most viewership today. And you tell me if you are watching these or not. I know this first one, my wife is watching the whole thing, White Lotus. It's about visiting resorts in Hawaii and Thailand, and the wealthy people go to these resorts, and it's following the family dysfunction and stories that come out of the wealthy elite at the places that they visit. And here's a little picture of the advertising for the White Lotus. And we will also discuss the themes here and whether we think these are good or bad models for us today. So what do you think? Anybody been watching that besides Vicky? Yes. How do you like it?
I love it, and I'm always amazed, like when I see it's the number one show, because none of my friends watch it. I would love to talk to Vicky in class, because I have so many theories, like, I can't wait
Yes.
Sunday night to watch it, and then my husband and I'll be like, okay, I think this one's gonna get killed. I think this is. But I have a friend who watched a couple episodes, she hates it, and she said, these are the worst actors in the world. And the whole premise of the show is these people are the most entitled, obnoxious people you could ever meet. So they're good
Yes.
actors because you hate them, you can't.
Yes, you hate the characters, but the owner
There's like a
telling
couple
good
of-
stories.
Yeah, there's a couple of like sort of nice people in the show, and then the others try to corrupt them, but it's, the whole storyline is just, I don't know, I just find it fascinating because every week you're like, you have a different theory about what's gonna happen. you know.
Yes, Mary.
Yep.
I watched one last week, and the daughter of one of these wealthy families said, I'm gonna stay here and become a Buddhist and go to the Buddhist monastery. And the mother said, you can't do that. We're Christian. You can't change like that. You'll just end up being somebody's concubine over here. And so it was kind of an interesting,
He's gonna stay in Thailand because the father's gonna go to prison.
yes, okay. Vicky, go ahead.
kind of like watching the storyline of the workers at the Lowe's too. Because they're the ones that carry the brunt of everything, you know, they're the ones that are working their bottoms off.
Yeah, they're not wealthy, they're
They're
the
not wealthy.
servants.
And as we found out one time on a cruise ship about, you know, how tough that kind of work is, because the one guy we talked to, remember, said that he was on a ship for what?
3 months before he got off.
And never even went stateside or shoreside, you know, and so that's hard work for those people that have to do that kind of stuff, and then they have to put up with what they put up. Entitled people.
Okay. The second most watched is called Invincible, an animated superhero series, action, drama, and art. I have not seen that. Anybody watch animated series? Must be popular with the kids. Number 3, Severance. I've heard a lot about this, a mystery series that delves into the human psyche, and it's about people that work in offices and they go during the day and are completely absorbed with their jobs, and then they go home at night and do not remember what they did during the day because their personalities are separated, completely separated. Something with the human psyche. Has anybody been watching Severance?
Saw a couple episodes.
Okay, here's the advertising for Severance with this fella. Anybody,
Any people
Karen?
that live Severance?
Karen, what did you think of it when you watched it?
Really interesting. They just finished their second season. The last episode dropped Friday night. Bob and I watched it initially and we were like, the first season, we didn't even get all the way through and we were like, this is weird, right? I mean, it was too slow for us. Then my son, one of our kids in New York, said, oh, you gotta watch it. You gotta watch it. And we got into all this conversation and and then we went back, watched the first season again, and then watched this season. Some of it very much parallels some of the stuff you might have experienced in corporate American work life.
Okay,
Some of it is bizarre because people have had a tragedy and so they go have this, it's not an operation, but they go and have this procedure, thank you. They go and have this procedure and it like separates their psyche,
oh, they had a procedure that separated their psyche, okay.
They call them the severed and they're on the
Oh, wow.
severed floor and all this other stuff.
Okay,
And when they go home at night, it's like when you go home at night, you don't remember your work life. And when you're at work, you're very focused at work and you don't have an outside life and.
and they've done this intentionally, so, okay, so. Isn't it funny, a lot of shows today go toward the bizarre. They really see that as more entertaining than I Love Lucy in the 1950s. I remember reading that when Lucy came out in the 50s, everybody was getting new TVs, television was new. There were like 2 stations and 70% of the country watched I Love Lucy every week and would talk about it at the water cooler. And today we're so separated that nobody watches, no shows gets much of a high rating.
I was
Like
just gonna add
70%.
that somebody like me who doesn't want to have a lot of streaming services.
Yeah.
I just know the world of Netflix and,
Yep.
you know, Prime Video. But there are so many platforms, and then you've also got places like Facebook where you can get a link to anything. I watch
Right,
Korean, Japanese, Thai, you know, all these different, it's almost mind blowing and it's, you know.
yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit more too, what people, which services people like and how many you have and so. But let's run through this list just to see what people do. Number 4, Daredevil, a Marvel series promising thrilling action and character development. Anybody watch that? No,
No,
Reacher?
but I throw in a comment. I'm a comic book wizard
Yeah,
in the sixties. I've got two books that have the first 20 issues of Daredevil comics.
oh,
So he's a blind guy. With, and he uses his other enhanced senses to compensate for his blindness. But good character. Again, I read the comic in the sixties, so.
very good. Okay, we'll look for that. Number 5, Reacher, a former military police officer investigates crimes. I watched that one and liked it. You too? Uh-huh. He's a good character, isn't he? Big boy,
Big, strong guy.
big, strong guy with good
Didn't
storylines.
Tom Cruise play that character?
Yes, but nobody liked Tom in that role because he was too small.
Too short?
Yeah. Number 6, Paradise, a new series with a strong cast exploring themes of family and secrets.
Is this on
Is anybody-
CBS?
I don't know where that one is. I have not watched that one yet.
What platform?
Paradise here, and I'm not sure. It has the fellow that was on This Is Us. Is that what, Vicky, is that what the,
Yes, yes.
the black character in the middle? Okay, but I've heard other people say they really enjoy that. Number 7's called Adolescence. And this was, Vicky watched this, a new series about a 13-year-old boy accused of murdering a teenage girl. And the police arrest this boy and they put him under interrogation and finally get out of him the truth of what happened with this boy. And they do it over 4 or 5 episodes. But
It was 13 months in when he was finally.
and
And what platform was that?
it's like Netflix, maybe something like
It
that.
was Netflix or Prime, one of the two.
So kind of a crime story, but very well done and different with a terrific 13-year-old actor.
I thought the story was just astonishing, so well acted. I was interested in it because I thought a 13-year-old arrested for murder, really? So that's how I got into the episodes, but I thought it was a wonderful.
In New
show.
Mexico, they've had several young men, 13 to 15 years old, running bicyclists down. Coming up behind them and running them down and killing them in New Mexico, Albuquerque.
Wow.
I saw it on News Nation.
Is Adolescence based on a true story?
No,
Nobody could be.
But it could
yeah,
be,
it could be, it could, no.
it happens. Number 8, Running Point, a sports drama about a group of athletes as they compete for a spot on a national team. I think this is also the one starring Kate Hudson. Is that correct? Where she's the
Yeah, it
leader
is.
of
It's on Netflix.
a team on Netflix. I haven't watched it yet, but I've heard good things about that one. Number 9, Vicky and I are watching Zero Day with Robert De Niro as a former president who takes over a new investigation after the computers in America go down. And America is threatened with complete collapse unless Robert De Niro can find out which hacking group is doing this. Did you like it, Norlene?
I love that. Yeah.
I thought it
Liked
was
it?
a terrible.
Jerry thought it was terrible.
Because I thought the acting and it was so slow. And the
Thought it was
acting
slow,
was-
okay?
Different strokes.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
Alice and I watched it and enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
It depends on if you like De Niro or not also. He's the focus.
It can be kind of terrifying because something like that could really happen, especially with AI these days.
Yes, and it's also timely because Robert De Niro's in charge of really the whole country in the investigation, and he suspends civil liberties so he can arrest people without due process. And does he arrest his enemies? And so people are comparing it to today. Yes. Interrogations, right. No limits on their interrogations to find out what's happening in America. And the last one is called Cassandra, a new series about families and secrets. And so I've not seen that one. Anybody seen that one? Okay. Okay,
Steve, I want to add another one on there.
go right
There's
ahead.
a series of books called by Tony, I think it's Tony Hillerman.
Oh, yeah.
And they're coming out with a series called Dark Winds.
Oh, Dark Wind.
Dark Winds. Excellent. If you just watch the movie, then go back and read the books. It's
American Indians in New Mexico.
On Sunday night, Sunday night.
Sunday night. Okay.
Robert Redford helped produce that Dark Wind series.
It's very good.
Sounds like people like that one. Okay, Gina.
Tonight. Season 3 has already started.
It's called Dark Wind. Yeah.
Dark Winds, and it's on AMC channel. And the first 2 seasons are on Netflix if you want to catch up.
We're sharing recommendations everywhere. I've lost control. Okay, back to order, please. Thank you. Gene Dawson.
May I add just a couple of others here?
Yes, sir.
Illustrious list. Your friend Ted Danson, who was in Cheers, very popular. There is a series on Netflix. If you like films that are funny, humorous, and authentic, and you want to know a little bit more about living in an assisted living facility, Ted Danson takes on, it's called, this is it, Man Inside. And he goes in to investigate some robberies in the assisted living facility in San Francisco. Having been, the gerontological field is my baby, they've gotten some great consultation, quite obvious in the production. But if you don't like a lot of swearing and so forth, it's clean, it's funny, and very authentic. Man Inside, Netflix, and so I want to certainly plug that for those of you who are interested.
Yes, we saw that and it was really cute.
It was funny.
Yeah. Thank you, Gene. Okay, I just want to mention this movie list by revenue. This is the top movies in the world, just to give us an idea of what the world is looking at. And this first one is a Chinese animated movie about a boy who's like a martial arts boy. And so apparently it's #1 movie overall in China and is very popular here too. Ni Za Tu. And I'm not going to stop. I'm just going to run through these and then we can talk about it afterwards. I have no idea. Don't know, but if you've heard of that, or maybe the grandkids have watched this, for some reason, this is very popular. #2, Captain America. And the whole superhero series is really big in the theaters, especially. Dog Man is also an animated movie. Bridget Jones is not an animated movie, but that has come back. Mickey 17, I'm not sure what that's about. Den of Thieves, I think, is an adult movie. The Monkey is that one was about, that one was a toy monkey is killing people. Yes. Yes, one of those horror movies. A lot of kids go to horror movies in the theater. When they go out on a date, they go to see a horror movie sometimes, including a toy monkey that kills people. One of them days, I'm not sure what that one is about. Flight Risk and the Wizard of Emerald City. So that's just a quick look at what, if you're curious of what is in the theaters that people are mostly going to. That's it.
What does it cost to go to a movie these days?
How much is a movie these days
For
in the
seniors, it's
theater?
about $10.
About $10.
Oh, it depends what time of the.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, too.
Three's better.
That too. I'm gonna stop the sharing here so we can just see our Zoomers again. Let me stop for a moment and ask Susan and Joe if they're watching anything on TV or movies. Susan, how about you? What's
So
it
my
like?
dad and I binged on the first season of White Lotus. We really loved it. And he likes the series Suits, so last trip I was binging with him on that. And then up here, we have all the same streaming services and all the same films in the theater. So recently I saw The Brutalist, which is fantastic, and Wicked and Conclave. And so I think it's very similar up here.
Good. Are there Canadian networks also? Is there a lot of in shows that are produced and shown only in Canada?
Yeah, so a couple that have gone down to the US market are Kim's Convenience and Schitt's Creek. But those were Canadian. And a lot of the films are actually filmed up here in Canada from American studios because it's a lot cheaper and they get credits, tax credits.
Says, how about Heartland also, about
Haven't
the
seen it yet
range
here. I
and the
know there's
horses.
another season.
Filmed in Alberta.
We can't get it here.
Steve, I need to put in a plug. We have a little mini library, very mini, of a few books and DVDs. But 3 DVDs we've got that you can check out from our little shelf here. Amazing Grace on Newton, who wrote, of course, the basis of the song Amazing Grace. Separate but Equal. This is 3 hours plus, but a superb movie starring Sidney Poitier. And then the Boston Globe's investigation of the Catholic Church. So those 3 are up here for people to check out if you'd like.
I have a question, Ron.
Fire away.
How do you play a DVD these days?
A DVD
You gotta have
player.
a DVD player. How many have a DVD player?
How many folks still have a DVD player? They
You're phasing out.
About half. They want a goodwill. Yes, Jim,
I'd like to ask Susan a question.
go ahead. He wants it.
Susan, do you know any Canadians that want to become the 51st state?
Sorry, what was the question?
You know any Canadians want to become America's 51st state?
None. None. The whole country is like up in arms and come together, and the new prime minister has brought down the trade barriers between the provinces, and all the premiers have gotten together. And today, actually, they think he's going to call a snap election and ask the governor general to dissolve the parliament. And it's looking like April 28th is going to be our election. So things are moving very quickly up here and to redirect, particularly to Europe and other markets besides the United States.
Redirect to Europe. Very interesting. Yes. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Susan,
Okay,
I wanted to say something to her.
okay.
I had a question
Go ahead.
too.
Susan, I just wanted to say I'm almost too embarrassed to fly the flag right now, our flag.
Well, but you see it a lot.
Okay,
I
all right. Thank you. Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
I'm going to Canada this fall. That was before I knew what was gonna be happening. Should I be wearing a sticker that says something? In solidarity with Canada?
You know, they just had a big rally in Windsor with Americans on one side and Canadians on the other, waving each other's flags to kind of demonstrate that it's really not a beef between the people, but between the countries. Because, you know, clearly there have been so many people that have gone back and forth and have family members south of the border and north of the border, and such a long history that I think everybody's just upset with the governments, not with the people so much. And, you know, I went to a hockey game this last week. It was Colorado Avalanche up here in Toronto. And I had a friend from Denver come up for the game. And, you know, they're not booing the Americans like they used to. They've just kind of gotten a little bit more sensitive about what that messaging could be misconstrued as. So I think people are kind of mellowing around the animosity towards the people of the United States versus the country. Although they still point to the 70 million plus people that voted for Trump.
Oh, I don't blame them.
Yes,
Interesting.
interesting. Thank you, Susan. Okay. I want to throw out, Jim, go ahead.
I'd like to comment. When you think about the flag, also think about the 420,000 Americans that died in World War II.
Yeah.
I just don't want my neighbors thinking, oh, he's one of them.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's,
I fly an American flag and a Ukrainian one right below it. which kind of expresses my,
Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
Very
Okay. Okay, let's talk about movies. There are several mainstream religious themed movies, and some of them are pretty good, like this one, Conclave. Anybody seen Conclave? Oh my goodness, at least half of the class has. Yes. Ralph Fiennes leads the bishops in picking a new pope, and there's drama and secrets behind each of the candidates has an agenda. And in the end, there is a twist that you cannot guess. And it's very interesting. Anybody else want to comment about it? Frank?
As a comment, the world organization that organizes the Olympics has a new leadership.
From Zimbabwe.
Pardon me?
From Zimbabwe.
Right, and I read an article saying, comparing their election to the conclave.
Okay.
So, both have their own politics and secrets.
Yes, yes, very good.
And I believe, although we assume although she's from Africa, from Zimbabwe, she does happen to appear to be white.
She's white, yeah.
Okay. Another one that's on the horror end, kind of the scary movie end, is called Heretic with Hugh Grant. And its premise, Vicky and I watched it, it was a little bizarre, but the premise was interesting, that two teenage girls come to his door as Jehovah's Witnesses. And he invites them in and then locks the door and will not let them leave until he tells them how they are brainwashed as Jehovah's Witnesses. And then it goes darker from there till he tries to kill them. But the first half is quite interesting on how he is a religious obsessed person who is interested in telling everyone, especially these girls, how history unfolded and that people are brainwashed by religion. And so, yes, Frank.
The flip side of that movie, I believe, might be Knock Knock, in which the host ends up being murdered by the two females.
Okay. By the females. Okay. There is a movie in the theaters now, AMC 24, called The Last Supper, and it's called Untold Perspectives on the Last Supper of Christ. So might be interesting. Easter movie, yes. And also on Netflix, still there's one called Jesus Revolution that has been out for a few years. With Kelsey Grammer, about 1970s, where hippies go into and join a church of older people and how they try to get along. The hippies and the older folks.
I went to that church for about 9 months.
You went to that church in California. I remember that.
Costa Mesa.
Costa Mesa, California. True story.
Oh,
Yes. Vicky.
Being in that movie changed Kelsey Grammer's life. I've seen him interview.
Yeah.
And he can't talk about it without crying.
Really?
It changed his life.
What's the
Very
name
good.
of it?
It's called Jesus Revolution.
The story
And
about
it's
Chuck
on-
Smith, the pastor of that church.
Yeah.
Really got the ball rolling.
True story on Amazon Prime, Jesus Revolution.
Gave me a book about it.
Yeah, there's also a new comedy series about mega churches on the Max platform called Righteous Gemstones. And I've heard it's pretty funny, but it makes fun of, has anybody seen it?
Oh, yeah.
What did you think of it?
Oh, it is very funny, but I don't know if eventually it gets repetitive, but yes, it's very, and this is about season, 3 or? It isn't the first season of it. The best season is maybe earlier. I mean, how you can run through all your stories. The earlier seasons I would recommend.
Does it make fun of the pastors and the wealthy people and their hypocrisies and their families? Okay, got it. It's funny. Okay,
Jim Baker.
Jim,
It's very dark.
very dark.
Yeah, very dark humor. It's funnier than the devil.
Yeah.
And then
No pun intended, funnier than the devil.
It's not that funny.
Okay,
After you laugh, it'll all be.
What's the name of it again?
And what was the?
Righteous Gemstones. It's on the Max, MAX platform.
Is Jimmy Swaggart still alive? Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about that for a second. How many of these platforms do we subscribe to? Some people just do Netflix. Steve does 0. Vicky and I have 6 or 7 that we track,
I got
and
Netflix and PBS Passport.
Netflix and PBS
It's
Passport.
only $5.
I think the 2 biggest ones are Netflix and Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
I've read, those have the most subscribers. Yeah. What do you think? Do you like this new world where you have to subscribe to all these different? Tom, what do you think?
I'm trying to balance what I heard Mark say about
Yes.
there's only so much time left. He actually mentioned binging on Netflix.
Yes, Rev Mark mentioned in the sermon today, do we want to spend our time binging on Netflix? That's right, Vicky. She said our evenings are gonna change, not be sitting on the couch so much.
I find like you talked about, I Love Lucy and 70% of the country, we had shared values and shared TV at that time. And the problem with all these different networks and all the different streaming is less and less shared values and less. And you can go out and all you can watch is dark things and think the world is dark, or you can watch funny things. But there's no communication between the two because you're out in your own channels.
Yes,
They're
Yes.
said, well
a
said.
lot of us are not watching the same things, and so, yeah. Norley and then Christine.
Okay, I would counter, and I think a lot of people who are in a different part of the mind have a feeling that they want to return to those days in the 50s when everything was more simple. Everyone had common values because they were expressed, like, what is it, Leave It to Beaver, Father Knows Best, all these things. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
in keeping with those sentiments, how many of you subscribe to BritBox? BritBox, the British.
Oh, I see that. There's only so much money to go.
Yeah. or-
Yes, BritBox.
Yeah, BritBox.
We love the British and we always watch those shows with closed captions on. Because they mumbled in their accents and you can't tell what they're saying. Christine and then Frank.
I also just get Netflix and PBS Passport. I think it's great to have all these choices, but I'm wondering, just like with social media, are we spending more time at home?
Yeah.
Watching all these and not interacting with even our age groups, and carry that all through all the generations. So it's great to have all these choices, but then how much time do you spend binging on these? I mean, I've done it too, as opposed to getting out and interacting with your neighbors and your friends.
I think Mark was talking about that in his sermon today. Let's don't stay in our homes all day and night. Let's get out and interact with people.
I thought you might cancel class.
Yeah, I was thinking we very young.
Frank and then Becky.
I vote Sean.
Yeah.
What did Vicky say?
Yes, Frank.
With regards to choices, I think we've also, with regards to political parties, be aware that the unaffiliated are now more than half of the registered voting population. And I would be curious who is either unaffiliated or third party in this room, if I can just do a show of hands.
Independents? Who's independents? About half of the class, probably. Yeah.
Okay.
Very good.
Majority, thank you.
Okay, and then Becky. Yes.
Nesting, yeah.
Mhm.
Buy more pillows.
Yes, it stopped people from going to the theaters for those years. Theaters have now come back. Business stories say theater revenue is coming back because young people especially are going and watching their horror movies and superheroes especially. But the rest of us have stayed home, and as the streaming platforms have become more popular, we're just staying home and watching. Change.
But the older generations, even though they may be doing that, they've had a lot of experience being out in the world and having friends and going to different things. But the young people haven't had that experience because they're always on their phone or they're watching or playing games. They don't have connections with other people. At least we have had. I mean, all of the people here, not just us. And so there's always that you know about, that you could go back to or deal with or divide your time. But with the younger generation, I wonder how many of them even have anything to divide their time with other people. You know, they're just always on their, so isolated.
From a former teacher, yes. Ron,
Okay, we have a lesson coming up, a two-part special feature. And,
Christine.
Christine Little will be, doing that two-part special. And the book that she's, using as one of the primary sources was again #3 on the national bestseller list in the paper this morning, The Anxious Generation. You want to say anything, Christine?
No, it's just, it is about Gen Z, the children that spent the first generation that spent their whole lives, their puberty with social media. And Dr. Haidt, the social psychologist, did research on them to show the psychological impact of both boys and girls. So the first part, I'll be talking about the impact in his research, because there's some really important points to deal with. And then the second part, we're looking at his recommendations for how to deal with that, whether the tech companies, the schools, parents, how we can deal with it. And I'm going to be challenging all of us to see how we, in our situation where we are now, how we can maybe help our children, our grandchildren, our nieces and nephews with this problem, help them to lead more successful lives. So it's going to be first the problem, and then what is suggested to be the proposals to change it, and then what we can do ourselves.
What's the
So
book
hopefully it'll
again,
be
Christine, what's the book again?
The Anxious Generation.
What is the age group? I should know, but.
Well, Gen Z is the current age now is 13 to 28. So whenever they were born, and I've got a little chart that can show you all the different generations. Most of us, I think, are maybe baby boomers or Gen X, maybe some silent generation. That's probably in the class, but then there's Gen X, Y, and Z. And it's the Gen Z people that he focuses on.
Very good, thank you. We've got 10 minutes left. Let's share some of our favorite TV series or movies that we've seen recently that we want to recommend to our group. Anybody have favorites that you've really been watching? Bob Dylan movie.
Bob Dylan.
A Complete Unknown.
was great. That was a
Very good. Yes. Jim, the Bob Dylan movie called A Complete Unknown.
Pat and I have started watching, an old series that I think everybody here has probably seen, Northern Exposure. After, you know, being familiar with it and the shock value is pretty well gone, so that these people are really listening. You can listen to what they're having to say. It's very prophetic. I mean, it's really great. They've come out with some.
Where do you watch
stuff
that,
that's
Jim?
worth writing on the wall.
Okay, what platform are you watching it on? Do you know if it's Netflix or anything?
I think it's on Netflix. Not Bob.
Hard for us to remember where we watch these things, isn't it? Yes, it's so hard. Okay, thank you. Mary, go ahead.
NBC Sunday nights, there's this show, The Americas, narrated by Tom Hanks. It's really incredible.
Okay.
Incredible. It's really.
Okay, good. Vicky, for our older generation, Vicky and I really enjoy the show Matlock with, what's her name? Kathy Bates as a lawyer in, who is investigating a law firm. And she's really funny and good story to that.
We're actually going back to All in the Family again. Many of those things that I thought were in America's past have suddenly resurrected, and the show is becoming relevant again. Yeah. Archie Bunker.
And sometimes when we look at them 20, 30, 40 years later, we see them with new eyes. Some of these old shows, yes.
All
Okay.
Creatures Great.
Yes.
All Creatures Great and Small, yes. We finished the current series and I went back and found a previous series from 1978 of All Creatures Great and Small. That's really cute also.
And that's also based on books, theory,
Yes,
but I don't remember the author, but yeah. Well,
Harriet,
Harriet.
same
I
series.
just finished The Crown and loved it.
Eric loved The Crown.
From a
TV
historical
show.
perspective, the back, you know, the backroom drama wasn't so much that interested me, but the history behind, you know, just her attitudes and how she perceived her role as queen. Very
The
instructive.
Queen.
Yeah,
Versus Diana, the princess.
right.
Yes, interesting. Yes.
Betty and I went to the nominated animated shorts for the Oscars in the theater, and that was it about 4 of them?
Right.
About 4 animated from around the world
Oh,
that were nominated for the Oscars, and that was an entertaining couple hours. It was at.
Good.
We went to Landmark.
good. How many people have been to a movie theater in the last 6 months?
Yeah, I guess.
Maybe a third of the class. Yep, very good. Gene.
Steve, what do you think about films that are very raw, RAW? That deal with themes that usually aren't talked about in church. But yet get quite a bit of publicity because of relevance and because of the shock value. I'm thinking in terms of Honora. I'm thinking in terms of the film that Demi Moore was in about.
Yes, some of them are just.
How beauty is abused in our country, very raw,
Mhm.
very raw, but issues that generally we don't tend to discuss.
Well, of course, they say that it's good that these are put out there for discussion, but some of them also go too far and too bizarre. And,
Make a point. That's
yes,
why they get the recognition in the Academy Awards and the accolades. Because they deal with controversial issues.
exactly. Susan.
I think also Honora, one of the reasons it's gotten so much attention and may have something to do why it won the Oscar. It was made by an independent film company. It was made for a very, you know, like 6 million or something. And, you know, that's just, usually that doesn't get attention. And I think that was great for the movie industry, right?
That's the one about a stripper in Las Vegas that married a Russian boy, something like, yes. Yeah, Sherry.
If you enjoy opera, you can go to, that's okay. The AMC Theater, it's based upon the Metropolitan Opera, performing on Saturday afternoon. And so you actually get to see the actual opera from Metropolitan Opera Company.
Record it?
No, it is in a movie theater, and you do see it with the subtitles. And of course, they're just excellent, as you can imagine, coming from the Metropolitan Opera. And I think another thing, just one second, another thing is that they give interviews during intermission of the singers, which I find just utterly fascinating about their career and about the story. And so anyway, if you're an opera buff, this is a wonderful way and more inexpensive way to be able to see operas of such quality.
They also show the backstage, getting the sets put together, and it's all, yeah, that part is as interesting as
It is. I'll never forget one time, I couldn't believe how much they were sweeping up the floor. Yes, you get to see all the background, which is
Sherry,
just
there's-
as interesting.
Thank you for sharing that. There's also a new movie with Angelina Jolie as Maria Callas, the opera singer. Did you see that one?
No, I did not.
It might be good to see. It got very good reviews. Yes. And
Steve, I would support everything you said. They showed that before the pandemic, it was in theaters throughout, not all theaters, but selective theaters in Denver area. So they resurrected it. I haven't been to one yet, but my friend and I went to every single one. We thoroughly enjoyed them.
Well, the next one,
It
if
was
you're
better than
interested.
going to the opera in New York City.
Yes, if much more comfortable, you have
Yes.
round seats.
And you could
But
bring food
the-
into the theater.
It's, the next one is, April 26th, Marriage of Figaro, which
Oh,
is such a popular one.
And they've gotten much more popular because I know we usually went to AMC 24. But now these for Figaro, we have to go to River Point or, you know, for us a little further away.
Well,
So they've gotten really
it's very interesting. We can only get seats on the second row. And at first I was totally appalled, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's what amazed me, is that it's still just as enjoyable. You could kind of lean back and look at it and it's fine. But yes, they are very crowded.
It's nice that theaters offer that as opposed to, just current movies also.
Steve,
Right.
Yes. Mhm, Eric.
on 60 Minutes tonight, they're interviewing George Clooney on 60 Minutes.
Oh.
And then you can go to Dark Winds at 7 o'clock on the AMC channel.
It's CSU's playing at 5.
CSU's playing at 5, okay.
Bye.
I have a question too for you all. Does anyone else have trouble keeping track of all of the TV shows that you're watching, when they debut, when the season ends, when the next one is? I have to keep a written list of what I've watched and hopefully when the next season will start, so I don't forget. Yes.
So this is kind of old fashioned now, but I still have TiVo. So that once you put it in, TiVo brings it up. It doesn't care if it starts in April or it starts in July. It brings up all the new seasons and it keeps track of whether you've seen the other stuff. So, just put it out there.
It's frustrating today, isn't it? Because some of these series, they go for 8 or 10 episodes, stop, and then it's a year or two before the next season, and you forget what you watched and what the story was previously. It's a different thing, different models, Hollywood doing things differently today than when the season used to be 22 episodes and would start up again in September. Remember that? Yeah. You'd watch Bonanza, you knew it would start up again in September. Yes, Gene.
Steve, we used to have at the St. Andrews, a theater group that would go down to the Buell Theater. And then the process, there was a clergy, there was a Lutheran pastor would process the drama with a group from the church. I wish we had an opportunity to process some of these films because they are statements, many of them are statements about
they
modern
are.
day culture and the issue from a Christian perspective. They're so contemporary. Yes, it's disturbing, but having a group that can process what we're being exposed to and the broad exposure that the media has on influencing attitudes, not just high school, but don't you think, Steve, there is a need? What kind of
I think you
response?
should start a new group like that, Gene. I would come to your group. Very good. We need to wrap up. Last few comments. Jane, did you have something?
Well, I was just going to say in response to Jean's comment, long before there was a St. Andrew, and we went to Littleton United Methodist, or First Methodist of Littleton at that time, we did have a film group.
You had a film discussion group.
Yeah.
Very good.
So, you know, even then, there were a lot of people that were interested in doing that.
Yeah. We'll think about that. Okay.
Senior adult ministry would be a.
That'd be the perfect place for it. Senior Adult Ministries. Yes. Very good. Well, this has been fun. Thank you for sharing. Nice to know what folks are watching and what they think about it. And Gene, yes? Final thought?
We need to be, CSU is one of the hardest basketball teams. They're playing tonight, NCAA against Maryland.
Go CSU. All right.
And I.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Susan, for
Thank
joining.
you. Bye.
We need to say